It's Friday.
It's Friday, and it's our first show of 2026. Welcome to our new age of imperialism. So this is the show, Over 50 Starting Over, where you get your inspiration, information, and awareness to champion your third act. I'm Barry Edwards.
And I'm Earl Garrison.
Okay, so we typically start off our show, conduct our show in two segments. First segment being usually something helpful for us, tips, tricks, health stuff in our first segment, and which leads us into our second segment of current events. This week, we have a very interesting conversation about entertainment, about Fallout. The new show, not the new show, the new season, but I want to talk about really mostly the first season, the premise that it set, because when I watched the first episode of season one, it made me go back and think about I said season one, I meant season two. First episode of season two the other day.
Right.
It made me go back and think all about season one and what all of that set up. It really set up, it told us it was a really genius writing about how our systems had created this juggernaut of a country that could not stop. You couldn't stop the systems. We blame the people. We are in an age where we are blaming, pointing fingers at each other, at each party, and try to divide everything into teams. And a Minnesota woman just gets shot. Okay, find your team, dig in, fight. And the truth of the matter is, it is our systems that has created this. And dude, it's going to lead into every current event that is out there. And by the way, these current events, just what I have, still no Epstein files. Of course, we're not supposed to say that. Right. We're supposed to have forgotten about that. Okay, so there's a Health and Human Services update that I just found out about this morning, and we'll just talk about that briefly because it fits right in here too. So I mentioned the ICE shooting the Minnesota activist, that woman.
Yes.
Oh my God, there's all that. Trump expands the Pentagon budget to $1.5 trillion. This plays into everything we're going to talk about with our systems. California's massive fraud makes Minnesota's fraud look like a kid stealing.
Oh, and anybody could have known that was going to happen. It's going to be
sick.
Exponentially more than anything Minnesota ever done. They've been doing it for decades now.
Yeah. And but fortunately, there's the awareness that this is bringing. And, we'll get to this, but I just want to plant the seed, is that, okay, we've seen our media change. A lot of people are really slow on the uptake on that one. Our media's changed completely. When you have a kid breaking the story in Minnesota that goes viral, when mainstream media sits on its hands, it tells you a lot about where
it sure does. It incriminates everybody, actually. There's no Republican or Democrat here. It's not about the local, state, or federal government. It's all of them. All of them. The news media
is corrupt.
Our corporations have been involved in this as well. Think about this. All of those new cars those people are driving, all those luxury cars, don't you think the people at the car dealerships would have gotten a little bit of it like, hey, this is kind of weird. I guess we'll take the money anyhow. Yeah. Everybody was involved. Everyone.
Absolutely.
That's why this was very convenient. Now this could be leading to
our
a
government
Civil War situation.
Taking over the news media, and they're panicked about it right now. We'll get to this too. Somehow, I want to fit in. Well, there's this little ordeal about Trump seizing Maduro and his wife from Venezuela, a little tiny news bit there that we got to fit in. And dude, I really want to talk about Turning Point. Now that happened about 3 weeks ago at this point. We haven't been together in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But what is Turning, and we got to get back to setting up the show, the first segment. But with Turning Point, I do want to talk about, the talk about Erica Kirk. What is Turning Point doing? They seem to be in a conundrum now that they have Ben Shapiro spent $1 million to headline. They're like, yeah, cool, not realizing that there's this pinnacle point that we're in about what role does Israel play in our politics today. We got to get to that. Dude, I want to fly through this thing with Fallout so quickly, but make the important point because of all that. Did I miss anything, by the way, with current events that you want to
Well,
talk about?
the only other thing that's going on here is it's interesting to see what's happening in New York with
Oh, yeah.
Mamdani and some of the new appointments. We could talk about that as well, but you covered everything I wanted to talk about as well.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so with Fallout, like I said, so Fallout, we got to set the stage with what are you talking about, Fallout? I see Fallout, Vault Tech is the main company. It represents, in my opinion, it seems to be a metaphor for the entire military industrial complex slash deep state slash big tech oligarchy. It's just,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
symbolizes all of that. So,
I think it even has shades of the hedge funds and how everything's a
yeah,
monopoly. And
yeah,
there's a scene where they pull all the competitors together, and then they form a monopoly as
it's
well.
perfect.
It's everything that's happening today.
Right. And so it's a
Us.
system. Oh, I'm sorry, your mic went
I'm
out, dude.
kind of the loser is us in these situations, right? The citizen is going to lose on this. This is
That's
all a play
exactly.
against the elites, against everybody else. It's hard to believe that they were allowed to put this on TV.
It was.
However, this does remind me of Project Mockingbird, where it's the CIA in the 60s started putting stuff into our movies, into the news, so that when stuff happened, we'd say, "Hey, my gosh, this is happening." And oh, you saw that show Fallout, didn't you? This is all
Yeah.
conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's pre-gaslighting. It's what's going on here.
Right. So with just the grounding there. So
Yes.
these people, it's post-apocalypse, nuclear war apocalypse. These people are living in vaults constructed by the deep state, really constructed by Vault Tech, who's really running everything. This conglomeration of military industrial complex, deep state, big tech. And uh, okay, so let's see. Lucy grows up. Lucy's the main character. She grows up in the vault. It represents the official story of post-apocalyptic America. The seemingly preservation of order, civility, rules, and optimism. When the vault is attacked and Lucy's father is taken, he's the vault's corporate appointed governor. It's another pivotal representation of our society. Lucy leaves for the surface believing morality still is what matters. That's what she was brainwashed into. And wouldn't we all like to think that? Lucy represents our society, a product of our propaganda in innocence, and she's unaware that the story is, unaware and being fed the American dream story, but she has to go to the surface to find her father, and the surface represents what our world really is, and that's chaos. It's fragmented power systems. There's small tyrants. There's scavengers. There's cult-like settlements. No ethics. So then there's the ghoul. He represents a bridge. This is a guy that was very charismatic. He was doing propaganda for the state. He slowly begins to realize that the corporations are steering humanity towards annihilation. And now, as the ghoul who roams the surface, he's now all of that post-apocalyptic, what's the word I'm looking for? Harshness, bare.
He's got a coldness about him, and it's no
Yeah.
compassion anymore.
It's kind of like cold, hard
It's been
reality.
it's been driven out of him. Actually, he was a family man that loved his wife, loved his daughter, and now he's learned
Yeah.
that all of these things had been used against him to steal away everything that he had, even the way that he thought. And now he's looking. He's got a jaded view of everything, and It's funny they call him the ghoul, but it's like this is what society will turn you into when your
Yeah.
eyes open. is what it seems like they're trying to say, Barry.
Exactly. And Lucy's father, who was captured, he was the corporate appointed governor of the vault, of Vault 33 or whatever.
Yeah, 33.
In season 2.
Isn't it interesting? 33 is an interesting number that they're using because it's an allusion to the 33 families that run everything in the world today.
Didn't
This
know
is
that.
the real deep state right here. That's why they're using that number. And
I didn't
it's
know
an
that.
interesting thing, the difference between the surface and in the vault. Let me ask you a question, Barry. Which would you rather live in?
I don't know, man. That's a really good question. I need to complete this thought, and because it's important, we can get back to that. So Lucy's father, who's the corporate appointed governor of Vault 33, gets kidnapped. He's taken to the surface. This is what took me down this path where I started kind of researching what we're talking about. Is at the end of the episode 1 of season 2. I was so looking forward to that. I couldn't believe it dropped. At the end of that, Lucy's father is finding his way back to the Vault Tech headquarters. And he's Mr. Company Man. Okay, he's what a lot of us are. He's what our politicians are. Man, if I could just get back here because I've been loyal to the company and we're going to come back to greatness now. We're going because of all the promises that we made and take this society back and rebuild it as this utopia. He gets back into Vault Tech and nobody's in there. It's quiet as hell. Dark, and he's on the phone and he thinks he gets a message. He gets a message to his boss like an answering machine and he's just talking to it. And I had this realization, like he's about to have the realization that like a panic attack when you realize everything you thought was reality isn't really, it's different. He's going to realize this is the point of the whole thing. He's going to realize that the system that he was told to believe in, that they all believed in, even his boss, they're all dead because they kept going with a system that was eventually going to eat itself. That's where we're at today, and that's what we're witnessing unfold right now, is all of these oligarchical systems that we are in are too powerful. We watched Trump get in here, he and his band of merry men and women on their white horses marching in. We all applauded them, me too, big time, going, oh my God, we're going to at least start chipping away at this. And in the first 2 months, we saw Doge and a chainsaw with sunglasses and all of, so many different things in RFK with the health department and Tulsi Gabbard, the head of intelligence. And all of these things come to a screeching halt. Trump was supposed to cut the Pentagon, which can't pass an audit, by 10%, 8 to 10%, I believe is what he promised. And all of these things not only came to a screeching halt in 60 days or so, they 100% reversed themselves. And now we're seeing, and instead of no wars, now we have a Department of War and an increased budget to the Pentagon of something like, 60% since where it was. So now it went to 1 trillion and now it's 1.5 freaking trillion without an explanation. It's most transparent. We're promised the most transparent administration ever. Nothing makes sense now. I want to open up with what I heard about this morning about the HHS. Hey, man, there was an over an hour press conference. Did you know that? Did you catch it at all?
Dr. Oz, I did get to
Oz.
see some of Dr. Oz give a presentation about what was going on in Minneapolis or Minnesota. That was earlier this week. You might be talking about something different.
Something different. So RFK was brought up, and one of a couple of his people that work with him, and basically what they said is, What we already know, kids are chronically ill. There's chronic disease that is bankrupting the country. Processed foods are killing us. Sugar's out of control, and we should eat more whole foods. And we got an inverted food pyramid, which is really good. And what was not announced, this is what bothered. Like, while I was listening to this, I was like, yeah, man, finally something. Because I've been saying to Lisa, like, why aren't we seeing like 100 different ingredients of preservatives and chemicals that
Right, right.
Europe doesn't allow, that every month we should see 100 new ones added to the list. You cannot put this poison in food, seed oils and crap. Anyway, so this is what was not announced. No overhaul of the FDA's, do you say GRAS loophole, GRAS? But that's the rule that lets companies approve their own chemicals. No overhaul of that. No mandate to remove seed oils. No additional chemical additives banned over the 3 or 4 that were, which remember red dye number, whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There was that.
Well, that was a big one.
It was a big one, but okay, one down, 1,500 to go. No timeline for evaluating the 1,000 plus chemicals that Europe bans that we still allow, and no new enforcement. So nothing structurally has changed. And my point is the Food and Drug Lobby, FDA, is basically APAC with aprons. They still run the show.
And I always say, like, it's the Food and Drug Administration. So
how do those go
food
together?
And drugs together.
They feed each other is what they do.
Okay, so go back to Fallout. You remember the scene where all the competitors are in the room, and it's like in this scene you got the food guys and the drug guys in a conference room together, and it's like, you know what? I got peanut butter. Hey, I got chocolate.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 great tastes that go well together. And
you're exactly
get this,
right,
man. Today, this week, it just came out. Pfizer is linked to approximately 90% of American cheese through the use of a genetically modified ingredient known as fermentation-produced chymosin, FPC.
So a chemical that induces fermentation is
which is used as a rennet substitute in cheese production. That's exactly right.
I wonder if that's the same thing that cheap beers use to ferment their beer, because I've heard that forever
too. But here you've got Pfizer, this big drug company, in all of your cheese, and this doesn't come out. How long has this been going on?
Yeah, right.
This has been going on. How in the world do these people get their dirty mitts on my cheese? I love cheese. Now I got to be careful of 90% of American cheese. And these kind of stories come out every day, Barry.
I know. Well,
it's like, who's protecting us? No one, not the Food and Drug Administration. And they're trying to poison us.
That's when the systems, it's a snake eating its tail. So it's speaking about, and this is the cold hard truth, like our capitalism is what made us great. It incentivized, it created freedom. We had freedom of markets. Today, it's questionable what we have, but the freedom of markets created all this entrepreneurialism where we create and we are rewarded by inventing the best stuff in the world. And as much as we're demonizing the pharmaceutical industry, they're also amazing. They've given us the most amoxicillin, for God's sakes. We'd be dying of strep throat right now, or breaking an arm or something without antibiotics and infection.
I agree with that. However, our system crashes when we add an anomaly like the administrative state. That is not a part of our Constitution. So now the Food and Drug Administration is a nameless it's a name, but there's who runs it. I don't know who runs the Food and Drug Administration. These people have an unlimited budget. They basically are the gods of our country. And this is where capitalism goes away. The actual compassionate capitalism you just talked about can't exist when you have absolute power corrupting absolutely through organizations that are built to create absolute power. It doesn't work in a republic like America, and we've seen it. And now the evidence comes out so clearly that, wait a second, now all these companies that are all under monopolies, about 90% of them are all owned by 3 different hedge funds.
If they're not yet, they will be.
They will be. That's exactly right. This is a situation of biblical proportions right here. And I agree.
Yes.
The Trump administration, I've got a lot of hope. I've had a lot of hope in those guys, but then I also think about the sheer amount of stuff that they had to take care of, and then you have to bring in an army of people that may or may not be able to do the job or may not be corrupted themselves. Think how easily it is to corrupt people in situations like this as well. They could be a good guy coming in,
Mm.
their
Oh,
family gets
yes.
threatened. What happened to Bongino? It makes me think maybe his family got threatened or something like that when the whole Epstein thing came out and they were like, oh, yeah, he committed suicide. It seems like, yeah, I mean, I heard a whole different story for years up to that. It's
Let's
like
talk
somebody
about that for
got to that
one
guy.
second, because I had that on the list, and it's a big deal
It is a
because
big deal.
this is a guy, tough guy, was the head of Secret Service for Obama, and
Right.
comes in with all this respect, has his own podcast where he's doing really, really well and talking tough all the time, and then all of a sudden, like everything else, joins the Trump administration and more bravado and all of this, and boom, instantly gets smacked down. And like we said before, man, it looked like somebody sucked the soul out of his body when he did that mandated interview about, oh, there's no Epstein files, and he
Right.
killed
Right.
himself. So he was compromised somehow, and
So it looked
that's
like.
yeah, that's so he quits. So here's my question, and you were starting to allude to this, is it seems to me he quits like that. He felt his soul get sucked out of his body, and he's like, I just can't maintain being a part of this. Do I blow the whistle on this? No, I can't. Whatever force was strong enough to make him compromise all of his principles and lie about the Epstein files is going to be strong enough to keep him from speaking out. I mean, it's like
Right.
threaten your family
That's kind of what
stuff.
I think is happening
I
here.
do
And
too.
and here's the thing too, Barry, is we're seeing where I mean Doge exposed it. We're seeing it happen in Minneapolis. The bad guys have gotten a hold of mega billions of dollars and they've fleeced it from us. So if you have that kind of resource, you can create an army. You can afford all the bad guys you need to get to somebody like
Build a
Dan
cartel.
Bongino. Right,
Hmm.
exactly. And so you see what's happening now in Minneapolis is that they're going to call the National Guard out on Trump. Like this is Civil War type stuff that's going on.
Might be needed, man.
These people are so well weaponized financially because of how they've been stealing from our system
It's like
that
the Afghanistan thing. We just
we've
leave all
created
of,
a
give them
very
all of our.
powerful enemy.
Yeah,
Yes.
we create
Yes.
armies everywhere that use
Yes.
our stuff against us. I
Well,
mean,
they're
so
going to
that's
use the state government against the federal government here. This is shades of the Civil War and how that all started with the attack on the Fort Sumter.
well, okay. So let me ask you this, but if we see it's just like the Republicans versus the Democrats. I see it as this fake war that's going on, and it's like let those kids fight while we just fleece the country. And so my point is, if that war takes place in real time with on the ground, the government is still back to our original conversation about this fallout thing, about the system that
It's
is
funny.
created. We can't win.
One could make an argument, Barry, that our own Civil War was exactly what you just said, is that while we were fighting it out, what ends up happening is the Republicans 100% control Congress because they kick out all of the Democrats. Then what happens is that they make these amendments, the 13th and the 14th Amendment, and that so-called ended slavery. However, there's a little loophole in that whole thing, which ends up, and this is a long story, but it ends up in the United States becoming a corporation, all capital letters, United States of America. And Washington, D.C. turns into the District of Columbia. That's how this all happens. And it actually gets a business. It's a business. It's the District of Columbia, the United States of America, doing business as. It's a DBA. That's what we're looking at here. And that's exactly what the
No, that is exactly
and now,
right.
now when you take a look at how government is business when government is there to help us to protect business. Now it is the business. All kinds of corruption happens, which leads to the Federal Reserve Bank and all of our bureaucracies that we have in place right now. Let's face it, we've been duped.
Yeah, we have. So, I mean, it's okay. We're going to skip all over the place because there's so much stuff. I feel it's the only way it can be done, to tell you the truth.
That's right. Yeah.
So what was, so this new age of imperialism that seems to have been announced this week. I'm just going off the top of my head. So Trump says Colombia may be next, obviously with Venezuela. Cuba, he says, actually should fall on its own, but probably will need a little prodding. We have threats against Greenland, taking over Greenland because they have minerals that we want. And what the hell, Denmark has no real power anyway. We've even heard Canada and Mexico threaten. I'm sure Iran part two. That's Israel's gonna tell us to do that again
right now.
And then so that, and with that, you can't say that without why is Israel so influential on us. You can't say that without saying what the hell's going. I want to somehow get to what the hell's going on with the Republican Party. It's so. I guess it has to be divided until there's something figured out about how much influence we should let Israel have over us. Why does AIPAC not even registered as a foreign lobby when it is a foreign lobby? Okay, there's a lot right there.
That is a lot.
Well, okay, so we start with the imperialism. Is the imperialism in feeding 1.5 trillion to the Pentagon, which can't pass an audit? Is this a new way to deal with an economy that can't be dealt with? Now it's 38 trillion. Run away. It's dead. I can't believe that if something's not done, that we won't just crash into a depression this year. Is this a different way of attacking an otherwise unattackable economic situation for us?
You know, this is an interesting time we're living in here, Barry.
Yeah.
I have to say, there's a lot I don't know. I can't pretend to know what's going on because I don't have all of the inside information. But as I take a look at the Venezuela thing, it was shocking that something like this would happen.
I wasn't shocked.
Well, flying in and arresting the president of another nation and then bringing him back in
on a military base, by the way.
To me, that was shocking. It was over the weekend, and so it was like I was doing other things, and I heard about it, and it was just like, holy cow. It was interesting to see the response from the Venezuelans en masse, which was complete joy that this person had gone down.
Though, I want to pause on that. And first of all, I think Venezuelans would be happy about this for sure. Not going to negate that. But the whole COVID trick was pulled on us there too. All the footage you're seeing of all these celebrations this was from 3 years ago when this.
Yeah. However, we know that under the Maduro administration, that people were run over in the streets with tanks. We know that the economy went down the tubes. People were eating out of trash cans.
Eating dogs, for real.
People that ran against him were jailed. That the election that just happened several months ago was fixed. The actual winner had to flee the country. Anybody that came against him was executed. Those things happened, and we also know that China is their main partner, along with the access that China travels with Russia, Iran, several others. And this is really the oil is the big deal, right? Yeah. We've talked about this before. All of that oil was being commandeered by China, and it was all really being used against the United States. So, I think it's ugly what happened, and I think there's a lot to say. It's not unprecedented. Done this kind of thing before as the United States.
Right. And I think in the grand scheme of things, that's almost small potatoes, because it sounds like we just got told a lot more of this is to come. Good thing we changed the Department of Defense to the Department of War, because we have gone on the offense.
Well, and we take a look at what Trump is talking about right now, which is Mexico and the Mexican cartels, and we know that the Mexican cartels run Mexico.
Hmm.
That's just what's going on right
Hmm.
now, and the heinous crime that's been going on there, coupled with the fact that they're being used to mule drugs into the United States, and we also have uh, the slavery ring that they're running where they're kidnapping women and children and bringing them back over the
They've been doing
border
that
as well.
forever. Hmm.
Something has to be done about that. And it does mean that we have to go on the offense with these things. And so, but when you go on the offense, it looks terribly ugly and it's hard to support because we're going to get the scenes right in our face, but the other scenes that are happening aren't necessarily right in our face. When we just hear about these things where family members are kidnapped and tortured and raped, and other people are taking drugs that they think is Xanax and it's actually fentanyl and they die. So how are you going to stop all of this? The other thing too, Barry, and now I'm on a roll, but the other thing too is that the Trump administration did one thing well, which was stop the bleeding at the border.
Yeah.
And we
Hmm.
were having just hordes of people coming across, and they're still here.
Well, we're
And so
suffering the ramifications of that now.
it's good that they stopped the border, but now we have to do something about these people that have come in
Agreed.
and they're literal gangs. We're seeing what's happened in Minneapolis, but what's brewing everywhere else? That's what I'm more concerned about. Is I see what's happening in Minneapolis. It's appalling, but that means other things are happening that are unreported all
Oh
over the
yeah.
country right now, and we've got to get a hold of this. And the unfortunate thing is that getting a hold of it is ugly. And we've seen it. We saw it just the other day where the woman gets shot. By the way, two other people got shot in
I just this
Oregon
morning
just
or
last
something.
night.
Last
Yeah.
night. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last
Let's
night.
talk about this for a moment because that has captured the zeitgeist, of course, for the moment. The Minnesota woman. I've seen the video and stuff like we all have. I've seen it. Both sides will try to manipulate it for their favor. I mostly immediately saw it just played in super slow motion, so it looks really, really bad. There's this poor woman trying to drive away, and the ICE agent shoots her. I could see both sides of this. Isn't it amazing? It's like George Floyd all over again for sure, because when the George Floyd thing happened, you could talk about 50-50 hindsight all day long. I'll still tell you the videos and pictures of Derek Chauvin with his knee on that guy's neck, the way with his arrogance, the way it was, it still makes me cringe. Now Chauvin's been stabbed 20 times in prison and still in there. That's a different story. That I think that's more than played out. But do you see my point? How once again you can totally see how both sides have points here and why it's there's no easy, why it's so debatable.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
mean,
in the Minnesota woman point of view, it's like, I didn't see her hit anybody with the front of her car, right? And that's what I heard about first, that I just saw her trying to drive away and this guy shoot her.
did you see? Yeah, there's a couple of different angles on this, and one of them looks more like she's actually hit somebody. The other one, it doesn't look like the person's hit.
Yeah, yeah.
The bullet hole through the window is through the front of the window, so the guy was clearly in front of her when it happened, not coming behind her. This is the problem with these videos, or even the video age that we live in, right? We look at these
Yeah.
clips and we think that we know everything that happened because, oh, well, I saw it right
There's a
there.
lot
But
unexplained.
so, yeah, just these short videos. It's
You
actually
can't
driving me
try the
crazy.
case with this,
No,
watching a
but
short YouTube video.
people are looking at Twitter and they're looking at a 20-second, 15, 10-second video, and
Yeah.
then you think you know everything about it. And the funny thing about these videos is if you get it in a mode where it plays one video, and then as soon as you're trying to figure out what you just saw, another video comes up,
Yeah.
and you can't
Yeah.
see. This is all like brainwashing stuff
It
right
is.
here.
It is.
I tell you what, and also this happens in a split second. this
Yes.
person that got shot, Good is her last name, ironically.
Yeah.
She gets shot, but she's a part of an
An activist.
organization called Ice Watch, right? And
Hmm.
these people, they chase ice, is what they do, and
Hmm.
then they use their
She
cars to
inserted
obstruct justice.
herself into a situation where she should not have inserted herself. So
So
at that
really,
point, it's like, well, does the punishment fit the crime? You could
it,
debate that all day long. I don't
you
know.
could. You absolutely could. And in the heat of the moment, the person with the gun is gonna win on this. And so we all know this. This is like getting pulled over by a police officer. You don't make sudden movements. You don't
Nope.
reach into your glove
Nope.
compartment or down into your pocket, or you put your hands on the thing and you say yes or no, sir, and you comply.
This is a part of
I thought
society that we need. This is our structure so that we can be
that's
safe.
exactly
So
right.
play
There
it
was a
within our
question in a
rules. Yeah.
There was a question in the press conference that I saw after this woman was shot, and the reporter was asking the mayor of Minneapolis, if ICE shows up at your house and you call 911, what is the response and what do you advise people to do? And didn't actually, it was a very
Okay.
convoluted answer, but I would have said this: comply.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
try to fight the feds; they'll
Right.
shoot you in the head.
Right.
That's what they're there to do. Seems to me like the powers that be want to put these people in the like the ICE
Stop it.
chasers. They want to put these people in harm's way so that when they get killed, they can get their
Yes.
way. And
Agreed.
that's the sick part of this whole thing. It's like demonic. Like you're putting these people that really are being used as this is the epitome of useful idiot, to be
Oh,
honest
yeah.
with
I
you.
totally
An
agree with you.
idiot that you're going to put a person out there that thinks it's the right thing to do to drive your car into an ICE officer. I mean, first off, the penalties for that are huge because now you're going to get terrorist charges against you. And by the way, if you're charged as a terrorist, all of your constitutional rights get taken away. You don't have the right to a speedy trial or a trial of your peers or anything like that. It's like a military tribunal.
Yeah, I
Why would
know.
you put people into that situation? That's
Agree.
disgusting.
Now, I do think that the whole Trump administration and their liberal use of the word terrorist is starting to get dangerous. However,
Well, I agree with that too.
I'll say about everything
That
that you
started
said, I
with the
totally
last
agree.
administration too. I mean, it works on both sides, right?
Of
It's like
course.
a dangerous. See, we got to get rid of this whole Republican Democrat thing because it's
Agreed.
like the government
We're
is
still going in the
dangerous.
same direction.
Give them this kind of power. Exactly.
Hmm. So, oh, you're talking about the weaponization of the left. I mean, so you've been feeding them this whole they're Nazis thing forever. And of course, where there's Nazis, you should kill them and eradicate them.
Right.
So,
Right.
I
The
mean, they
moral.
might do assassination attempts. I don't know. Uh,
Right.
Useful idiots is the thing. And it's very dangerous, especially when you have people that, these activists that get in these groups and now their identity becomes part of this kind of a resistance. And, used in the right context, yeah, that can be helpful. But context is key here. Okay, so this is what I mean about the whole Minnesota woman and this incident. I can't try this case myself because I look at that video and the first thing I'm wondering is pull back out. What's going on there? Is ICE doing, do they have this block shut down and are performing some kind of maneuvers?
That's a really good
Or
question.
nobody knows what the hell's going on there. And so she
What are they
drives
doing over
up.
there?
Yeah, she drives up in the middle of this operation. And is that what happened? We don't know that. It could be these ICE agents are out going to lunch and all of a sudden this woman drives up and they shoot her. That's a whole nother story. But we don't know which it is or if either of those are correct. You know what I mean? We don't have context.
Yeah.
So we can't try this. How about we wait until because dude, when this starts being tried, a lot of new information is going to come out.
That's right.
Well, anyways, let's not beat a dead horse on
But
that because
you're
there's a lot
exactly right.
more.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Yep.
There's a lot more to go over. I'm trying, like, obviously, we're talking really fast and trying to go through a lot. I want to talk about, out of curiosity's sake, because there's a lot that intertwines here. But Turning Points USA, you went to the event. You were a facilitator at the event. I want to hear about that. And I want to talk about, all of a sudden, Ben Shapiro, that whole thing didn't seem to be such a great idea. He gets up there and basically calls some people anti-Semites, such as without saying their name, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. I don't think he said their names. But they replied in their subsequent presentations, they nailed him.
They did.
So we
They
had
really
a war going on the Turning Point stage. That Turning Point is like, didn't see this happening. Now, I think, and this is even the way I say this, I have to say it carefully. I think they have to decide who they are now. Are they a mouthpiece for Israel and the cooperative part that we played with them in some non-transparent, questionable manner, or what? So the Israel thing comes full face now. Like Fox News, I think, has to now decide, are you going to stop hiding from this issue? At the end of the day, I don't think that we need to overcorrect like we do with everything and become anti-Israel. We just need to stop having them influence our government the way they weirdly do.
Well, it's one of those things that's a mystery, right? We don't really know exactly how much Israel is involved in anything, and I think that when that is unveiled, we're all going to be shocked to
Epstein
find out
files.
how much influence that they have here, and we can see that there's something going on with Turning Point USA. But we still, none of us have all the facts on this. It's a mystery. It's shrouded right now, and it's one of those where there's smoke, there's probably fire, right?
Yes.
Turning Point's got a lot to deal with here. They've got the new CEO, who's Erica Kirk. She's no Charlie Kirk, that is for sure. She does not have the charisma that he has, how the momentum that she has with the assassination. How far does that take Turning Point? Because I think that's what the energy that
Right. Good
she's
point.
created here as the CEO, and that's going to take her, a certain place. I do think that they have good people that are on their team that could help her out if she remains the CEO. It's very hard to tell exactly what's going to happen. When I went to Turning Point, it was for the AmFest. It was the day after the Ben Shapiro thing, and it was on everybody's mind. But we actually got to do a breakout session.
Explain who, and your mic is kind of, but explain who we, as you said, we at the.
So of course I was there with Casey Fleming. Casey's got a book coming out called The Red Tsunami, The Silent Storm Killing Your Future. It's the one about the unrestricted hybrid warfare that's coming at us from the Chinese Communist Party, and we spell that out and how it's impacting the country and you personally, because it's a war that's coming at you personally, and what to do about it. And the message that Casey gave at the breakout session, which is they separate out, and it's sort of like a conference, a big conference room where you've got a few hundred people that come, and then he's presenting the concepts of the book. The Ben Shapiro thing comes up in his speech where Casey's talking about unity, and that what we need here amongst us is unity as American people, not conservatives, not Republicans. Be nice to liberals, be nice to leftists. People are misinformed. We've been misinformed. We're all of the same blood here. We need to come together. And that was the message. And then he says, so next year, have me on the main stage instead of Ben Shapiro to talk about unity, and everybody breaks out into a huge applause there.
Oh, that was a good line, man. Impromptu.
It
Yeah.
was beautiful, and the crowd responded. And after the breakout was over, they all surrounded him. Even when he left the room, they're asking questions and everything. The reception to the book was fantastic. It was
Glad to hear
phenomenal.
it.
We got Casey interviewed because they have media row there. My job was to get Casey interviewed in all of the media that was out there, and we got him involved in 20 different podcasts, over 20 podcasts while we had him out there. We By the end, he lost his voice. That was my job, was to
Ah,
wear out
ah,
his voice, and he did good. Now we have follow-up interviews. I was on the line with the producer of The Blaze just the other day, so we're lining up that. So now I've got all these contacts that are like The Blaze.
awesome.
Like I'm gonna get on Glenn Beck's show. It's pretty cool. So the whole thing was very moving. I will say that I never did get to go on to the main floor where all of the
Oh,
speakers were, because it was sort of like a trade show, and then
hmm.
you've got this main stage area where that's basically what you get to see on TV. But the real thing, I think, is happening in that trade show area. That's where the media is. That's where all the people are. That's where the conversations are happening.
Hmm.
And I got a real positive feeling from the group there, and a very positive feeling from especially all the young people that were there that seemed to have their heads on so solid. We had great conversations with these people that seem to have their eyes open to really what's going on there. It's going to be hard to fool these people.
Yeah.
And that gave me a lot of hope that I don't see in the media or like every day. It was pretty refreshing, actually.
You bring up an important point. So the younger people are giving you a lot of hope that you don't see normally day
Yes,
to day in the media. And that's because we're old. And so people in our peer group are still listening to mainstream media. They're the only ones listening to mainstream media. And
that's a good point.
everybody else is listening to independent media where Israel's influence is always being questioned. And questioning things is a very important and American thing to do. That's the First
Absolutely.
Amendment. And that's how we keep people in line. There's a gigantic movement with Israel trying to silence our First Amendment. I don't know how much you've heard about this. We, of
I haven't
course,
heard of
know. Okay, we know about Barry Weiss being paid 100 or 150 million dollars for her Freedom Press to take over CBS News to give to right the ship as far as Israel's concerned. They're backing there. Ellison was just he turned away. CNN, believe it or not, turned away the offer from Ellison.
David Ellison, Larry Ellison's son. Is that right? I did not know that.
Yeah, to buy CNN.
Wonder
So
why. I wonder why.
Soros bought up zillions of radio stations.
Yep, yep.
What other mainstream? We talked about Netanyahu a few weeks ago. He's a recording of him talking about the importance of buying TikTok. It's like these older people finally had one realization that they need to get into new media. And let me tell you something. This is the scary part: is if their censorship is continued far enough down the road, they'll find a way and probably succeed because of this tech oligarchy thing that we got going on to seize our communication, our independent communication system, the internet, and start censoring it. And they've tried this in the past several years ago. They were trying to pass legislation to, if you think about network TV, we always had censors on there. You couldn't swear, say certain things. You couldn't show certain things. But the internet was allowed to remain completely free. And that's been a godsend in the case of the awareness that has created us. But the curtain has been unveiled, has been pulled back on the powers that be to a younger audience primarily. And that's, a big purpose of this show is to try to bring that awareness to our generation and talk about these things and create a bridge between younger and older. And so the Israeli influence is really, really opening up a lot. So if I would have thought, there's obviously been so much in the news that I couldn't get everything on here. But Tucker and Glenn Greenwald and other people have been playing this clip from one of Netanyahu's people that is talking about, he's talking about it, I believe, his interview on CNN, I'm pretty sure. And he sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He sounds like a cross between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Netanyahu, his voice. That's every time I heard that. And he's talking about how our government needs to take control of social media and able to save the First Amendment. You gotta
that's
love
hilarious.
that.
Yeah.
And
That's an old playbook right there.
Oh, it is. So that, we're seeing the hate speech thing brought about even by Pam Bondi, for God's sakes. And now,
we got to take away liberty in order to preserve liberty.
We got to take away democracy.
We got to kill liberty to save liberty.
Yeah, and so we're hearing this all the time from every front. So hate speech is so seductive until you hear the simple explanation about if there isn't hate speech out there, that speech that you hate, then you don't have free speech.
There's no debate. Exactly.
Yeah.
You just shut down debate. Oh, that's hate speech, and that's it. That's just like calling somebody, oh, you're a bigot. Well, that's how you shut down. That's how you shut it down. No more debate. That's it. And then this is a tyrannical movement, right? Is you shut down conversation. This is look, have you seen what's going on in Iran? The whole place is lit up right now. There's riots in the streets in over 100 different cities over there. Their version of the dollar has tanked. This has a lot to do with the Trump administration, as a matter of fact. But what do? They shut down the internet. That's what the government does. That's what tyrannical governments do. They shut down information. They shut down your ability to communicate. China does it all the time. America's doing it. We've unveiled it. We can see this, and those young people know it. And that's what I appreciated at Turning Point USA. It was a very interesting experience over there, but what is going to happen? I don't know. They've got financial difficulties as well, that they got a lot of splaining to do about where that money went. And that hasn't come out yet either. So we'll see what happens. But it's a very important organization. And I say that because the young people are the Achilles heel of this country, right? Like, if you're the enemy and you want to bring this country down, it's the Gen Z that you're going to try to attack. You want to brainwash these people. And you can see that this organization, Turning Point USA, would be a beautiful jewel in the hands of those who hate America. And so this is what what they hate. What really the world hates, and it's really what the devil hates, is our ability to use our cognitive thinking skills, our critical thinking skills, and think for yourself. The devil doesn't want that. Governments don't want that.
Correct.
Religion, not faith, but religion doesn't want that. They want you in that cage as well.
Sure.
And so that's what this real battle is about going on right here. It's a battlefield is in your mind. It's the battle for your mind.
Oh, that's you spun some gold there. A lot of good one-liners to take out of that. When I think about what has been going on in Venezuela, and we can go from the drug thing, I see a lot of people talking about the drugs. You can't do this war. Dude, the war on drugs thing, that propaganda was about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
It was the worst laid propaganda campaign ever.
We know that drugs come from there, but there's more drugs coming from Mexico than any place else. Yeah, we're getting cocaine from Venezuela. We know that, but that's not what this is about.
Nope.
But
it's about the oil.
Interestingly, the press wants to. Here's what I think. This is really interesting. I heard this. You ever hear David Byrne before? I think that's his name. He was the president of Overstock.com at one point.
You know who I'm thinking of? The lead singer of Talking Heads.
I might have his name wrong here. Byrne. This is his Patrick Byrne. He put out this book called Danger Close.
You were thinking of Talking Heads.
Yeah, I was, wasn't I? Good call on that one. That was a test. But I saw him. This guy, he even though he was a CEO, he's been used in intelligence operations. He was part of the whole crushing of the Russian collusion theory
Ah,
that's
yeah.
out there.
Oh, yeah.
But I saw him recently talking about this Maduro thing. Now, you can believe this or not. I don't know if I believe this yet, but he was Byrne was positioning this as a rescue mission for Maduro. That what was
That's
going to
funny.
happen here was that the Chinese and the Cubans and some other various organizations were like, no, you're going down with the ship here. And if you try to get away or anything like that, it's Coitons. We're going to kill you.
Really?
See, under communism, you can't, you're not allowed to fail, right? And so getting captured by the Americans is the worst thing that could happen in a communist state. So it's better that you die fighting for the cause because the cause, it's not the cause that's wrong, it's all these other people, right? And so coming in to get Maduro and taking him out like that, and then you see him in court smiling and oh, Buenos Dias and all
He's
this
having
stuff,
lobster back there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's him and his wife. Like, I don't know if that's true or not, but
I
there's
don't.
something about it that's like, huh, I wonder because now, Trump is the deal maker. Look at all the oil that we just got a hold of right here. And also, how does that look? The people of Venezuela were not benefiting from the oil that they have under China. All of that was being taken over to China. This is a way better deal for the country, Venezuela, and a great deal for the United States as well.
Okay, I got to differ with that.
That's how they're looking at it.
You know who
And
benefits from that? The big oil companies.
the big oil companies will
We're in an
benefit from
oligarchy,
that.
man.
That's
Yeah.
right. But here's the thing
You're going
is
to talk to me how it's going to trickle down and we're going to
the
have 20 cents a
people are
gallon
going
less.
to no, here's the deal. People aren't going to get run over by tanks in the streets. They are going to have a better life because that's the illusion, Barry. That's the illusion is that, oh no, we're the good guys. It's sort of like the difference between Trump and Kamala. One of them is the so-called good guy, the other one so-called bad guy, but they're both going to the same place. One's just
That's
going
right.
to the place a lot faster than the other. And that's what we're doing with it. Do you see what I'm trying to say here?
Well,
That you're not going to have the tyranny in the streets the way you had it before. It's just going to look different. It's going to look a lot more like the tyranny in the streets here than it is over there. That's all. It's the same thing, though.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm wondering about, and people talk about, oh, yay, the U.S. got this oil. The U.S. did not get the oil. Like I said, it's these top three oil, Chevron, Mobil, ExxonMobil, and one more, I
I
think.
can't believe it. You're going to get a 10-cent discount at the pumps and you're mad about this?
Exactly. So that's that one. I also wonder, motivations are what I'm wondering about. One, I'm wondering if all of this aggressiveness is because of the Epstein files. I said before, I said a few times, I think that was just pulling at a string that was going to unravel everything. And the other thing I wonder about is it an economic move? You know what? This is the thing, Merle, is that everything that we talk about here, we're not privy to the information on the inside. You know,
No, we're not.
they're having these giant meetings with their economists who look and talk about the economy in ways that we don't even know. And dude, there was a really big economist on Tucker about a week ago or so, and he was talking. Tucker was trying to ask him, well, what can be done with our economy? How can it be saved? And he's like, when he got to that point, it was like, no one knows. We're so far gone at $38 trillion in debt. There are theories about historically, there's no historical precedence, but there's theories about spending your way out of it. Explains that a little bit. That doesn't stick with me. And of course, cutting your way out of it, which of course, Doge lasted about a month or whatever. And he says this administration looks like they're trying to do a dual edge kind of form of that. Well, I don't know how that works, but I wonder if this imperialism thing is a way to hedge bets on that or something, make it to the midterm somehow without the economy crashing. These are things I wonder about. I don't know. Throwing it out there.
Well, there's an interesting, I think you listened to that podcast by Tucker where he was talking about Israel versus another, not Darfur, but another Middle Eastern country as an ally, and would that be a better ally for us? And his point was this: is that the relationship between us and Israel is very one way. We give, they take,
Yeah.
we don't get from them.
And then tell us
But,
what to do.
Qatar,
Weird.
it was Qatar actually, and he was like, "It sound like a crazy idea, but if we did, they are more like us than Israel
Yes.
is. They
Yes.
have things to give us that we need."
Yes.
And then you look at Venezuela, you look at Greenland, and there are advantages that they're going to get. This is how the whole ally thing works, right? And so is our ally system imperialism? Because look at what we are doing here. You can make an argument for the whole ally system being imperialism because
Yeah. Yeah.
because go back to World War II, right? The Marshall Plan. As soon as World War II is over, the United States bails out all of Europe and pays for all of the reconstruction of Europe and a loan, and then forgives the loan. And so what kind of power does that give over Europe? I don't know. I'm just saying, like we're all about the economy, right? And you could call it imperialism or a different form of imperialism. Is it allies? Is it partners? It's hard to tell. It's
That's a
really
good
hard to
point.
tell under the system that we're under right now. And I say post Federal Reserve Bank, it's really hard to tell what these relationships really are because you have so many things that are happening behind the scenes,
Uh-huh.
under the scenes. You've got secret organizations like the CIA doing all of these
Uh-huh.
kinds of things.
Mossad.
You don't know. And so I just say, keep questioning, keep looking at it. We don't have to know all the answers. Sometimes the heart is going to tell you what the real thing is when the facts are so cloudy. And I say, we need to start going with our heart on a lot of this stuff because we're not getting the whole story, but some things just don't make sense.
Yeah, a lot of what you said made sense. And so, what we can get from this, and if we just, use this as a reference, but the Minnesota fraud being unveiled largely by that young man who went
Shirley.
in. Yeah, what's his first name?
Nick.
Nick Shirley.
Yeah.
And his video went mega viral, like 100 million
Thank
hits
God.
or something.
Yes,
like that.
it was.
And in my opinion, I think probably what happened is that the FBI had the investigation going, and they're probably like figuring out when to make their move, and so they could get the people at the highest part of this. Maybe I'm giving them too much of the benefit of the doubt. Not a big fan of the FBI, but I watch movies. This happens, and it's like. Then this kid comes in and it goes viral. It's like, oh man, he just exposed our entire operation. Now we have to move. And they literally moved within 6 to 8 hours of that video going viral. So I don't think that they just mobilized out of nowhere in 6 to 8 hours. I think they were coming out of their vans on the side of the street, like in the movies, going, damn it, it's a little early. I'm
Right.
guessing.
But it begs the question, right? Like, okay, I think of it this way. How come Nick had to do that when you've got paid organizations
That's
right there
right.
all over the place
That's
that
right.
could have done this? And we also know that Health and Human Services in Minnesota were putting posts out on Twitter for years about this. This has been going on for some time. The federal government has also been giving billions of dollars into the same program. So, it's not just the state government that we're talking about. The feds have been doing it too. So I would have expected the state government to remember the Leering Center instead of the Learning
right.
Center. Like they should have gone there, the state government. But here's the feds coming out and they're guns blazing like, oh, we're cracking down on this. They didn't check. We've given $1.5 billion a year. And wait a second, feds. You've been given 1.5 billion. How come you didn't investigate the Leering Center? That's my money. You're just now going to do it when Nick Shirley comes out. And let's think about it another way. Uh, President Trump was running against Kamala and Tim Walz, right? Like, don't they do their market research? I mean, this was clearly out there. All the Republicans had access to this information the entire time, yet the general public didn't hear about it until Nick Shirley went out and got it. I mean, that way, if you're going to run against Tim and Kamala, why wouldn't you use that as your number one thing? They had to have known. This is what I'm saying. This stinks to high heaven. Not only should those all, that's the Republicans, the Democrats, the media.
Yep.
What about the people that were right there in Minneapolis? Remember, Nick Shirley interviewed that guy that was a businessman from across the street. He says, I never saw a kid come in here. I've been working here for years. Wait, you've been working there for years. You saw the Leering Center and no kids coming in, yet you say nothing. Yeah. So the citizens are engaged in it.
Oh yeah, they're wimps.
What about the people that were getting? Oh, I'm going to take another Bentley. Okay, we've got one for me, mom, the kids too. What do you do for a living? Oh, I run a daycare center.
That's never had a kid in it. Yeah,
wouldn't that like bring up red flags? Like, you're running a daycare center, yet you're driving a Bentley. Even that kid that came out to say, oh, remember, like a couple days after Shirley went there was a young guy with a New York Yankees hat on with these glasses, and he's saying, oh, somebody broke into our place and stole all of our records. Did you see that?
I didn't.
Okay, well, that was it. This is it. It's like, we've got kids. They stole all the kids' records that come here and everything, and so that's going to be the excuse, right? So this was all made up and everything, and that some
that's
bad
lame.
guy is stealing. This is all about prejudice, and they're trying to hurt our organization. Now we have to close down the center because we lost all this information, and it's not secure.
God.
And then later on, it turned out that the guy's sunglasses, or not sunglasses, the guy's glasses, he's wearing there's very unique glasses he was wearing with a different kind of emblem on the front. People track that down. Those were $2,000 glasses.
Oh,
where's $2,000 glasses except for somebody that's getting billions of dollars for free?
Yeah,
that's what's happening here.
Exactly.
And it's like, come on, these guys can't even lie right. The whole thing is set up. You got Ilhan Omar. You've got
can't believe she's still in the country.
You've got the Attorney General Ellison over there. This is all gone wrong. And meanwhile, you're looking at California that's $72 billion in the rears. It's looking like, where did that money go? And then you got New York, where Mondami's got a woman in there that's going to run the housing, and she's saying things are going to be different for the white property owners here.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's unbelievable. I can't believe in 2026 I would expect a few things, and that is one, an end to racism against white people. That cat has been out of the bag for a long time, and then just alongside with that is using this victimhood about being racist in order to do things like defraud Minnesota, California, and all the. I mean, it's too obvious. It's so simplistic.
Too. Yeah,
it's embarrassing to me as an American citizen that we fall for this.
Me too, and I'm done with it.
I said before, I'll say again, if I'm not being called a bigot of some kind, I'm on the wrong side of things.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing to have to say. But I want to just make the point that our independent media and our independence, our freedom of speech has become very painfully, we've become very painfully aware of the extreme importance of it. If you haven't been able to just verbalize to somebody why our First Amendment is so important, you're watching why it's so important unfold in real time. It may be too late for this country. As I said, even about if you're trying to save it by stealing oil from other countries, the big oil companies are truly the ones, this giant oligarchy are truly the ones that are benefiting. American people are still getting sucked dry. We're still being treated like product. And I guess I don't know if product is the right word, but we're still being squeezed for everything.
I do have one thing to say about the oil, and you do make a point here about the big oil companies. However, throughout history, what we're seeing is that whoever has the energy wins. And you know, World War II was a big lesson in that whole thing, because at the center of it were oil embargoes. And so you know, we look at it, we can look at it any way that we want to, but one of the things is we don't know, again, back to, we don't know everything that's happening behind the scenes. The news media doesn't report about the China relationship to Venezuela.
Right.
So almost nobody knows that that's been it really comes down to this. Do you want China to have that advantage, or do you want America to have that advantage? What we have is in our own backyard. It's not in the backyard of China. China sees this as a way to get over on the United States. That's the bottom line. It's an ugly thing, but it's true. So who gets it? And then we don't know how they're going to actually control this. We're going to run another country, Venezuela. We've done it before. We've done it multiple times before. We did it for all of Europe. And look at Europe. Well, look at what Europe was. And so this is a hard place where we are, and it's hard to tell what the right moves are too, because like you said, we're in some of it is unprecedented, and some of it isn't. So we're going to see.
When I look at when I say, and I open the show with our new age of imperialism, I don't know if that's I try to look at it in two ways. First of all, there's my knee-jerk reaction, which is I freaking hate war. I'm tired of this. It's a military. It's just like I said about the oil. The oil company isn't benefiting. Every time we drop a missile, it's the military-industrial complex that profits from it, because they have contracts that they are not even challenged. They fleece the living hell out of us. So there's my gut reaction of been like, oh, here we go again. This is just doomsday for the average everyday person. Then I try to, as an independent, I try to see all sides of it, and I try to look at it like this. As you said, we don't know what we don't know. Imagine if we could look down the road 50 years from now. God only knows what our society will look like then. But if we were reading history books 50 years from now, looking back on this period, it could be this monumental change in world history when the democracy went imperialistic, and it actually saved a lot of backwards countries and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know all of the domino effect in so many ways that this is how it's going to play out. So I don't know.
This is so interesting, because again, none of this stuff happened until the Federal Reserve Bank was formed.
I know.
We didn't go into other countries, and I mean, really, up until the Federal Reserve Bank, I can't think of a whole lot of times our military actually left our shores. It was more to protect our own borders. And so, of course, we did, but very rarely. But once that Federal Reserve thing happens, the first thing that happens is World War I. And then the next thing that happens is World War II after the Great Depression. I mean, come on, man. It doesn't take a lot of information to realize that a turning point happened in 1913, and we're not, and the debt. I mean, in 1913, we were the #1 manufacturer in the world. Why did we need the Federal Reserve Bank? It's
a good one, man. That's a good one right there.
Anyway.
So who knows where it goes from here. I want to, you know how we typically do the lighter side, maybe play a video or something like that. I do have something, it's not exactly the lighter side, but I wanted to show it to you, and I want to get your feedback. It was about a week ago, I bookmarked it. But Tim Pool, who talks really fast and sometimes says some really smart stuff, sometimes not so smart, but usually really smart.
Yeah.
He was talking about the difference between liberals I should say leftists and not. And like I said, I don't really remember how this went. So let's take a look at it and
School this unhinged liberal with facts.
You say the left is a cult. I can do the same thing with the right. I can say they're completely insane. Look at these nutbags on Twitter. You'd be wrong. Really?
Yeah, the popular vote winner, Donald Trump, was a Democrat. RFK Jr., former liberal. Tulsi Gabbard, former liberal. Donald Trump, former liberal. Elon Musk, former liberal. Colin Wright, former liberal. Tim Pool, former liberal. I never voted Republican. I didn't like Republicans. And now the Republican MAGA movement, not the neocons, is an eclectic bunch of diverse views which debate each other. Charlie Kirk, Christian conservative, invites moderate pro-choice Tim Pool onto his stage to discuss those views to the public. On the left, what do you think would happen if you went and opposed their views at a public forum? You'd be threatened with violence. Booking liberals to come on my show.
We have the same problem. They don't want to talk.
I can sit in front of a libertarian like Dave Smith and Charlie Kirk at the same time, and we leave with beers in our hands, smiles on our faces. And Dave will say, Charlie, I really do appreciate it. I think you do good work. I know we disagree. The left doesn't do that. They firebomb your buildings. You could...
those are some good points.
Well, they are great points. And you know, we were talking about, you were making a statement about wars and not liking wars. Who does? Nobody wants war. Right. However, we live in a fallen world, and there's bad guys out there. There's bad organizations out there. There's people with bad intentions towards you. And so there's something that is in the Bible, and it's blessed are the peacemakers. And it's interesting that he doesn't say, blessed are the peacekeepers. The peacemakers is what he says. And so the fact is that if we're peacekeepers, then what's going to happen is we're always going to have to capitulate to the bad guy in order to keep the peace, right? Mm-hmm. A peacemaker is going to be like, I see evil, and if you don't change it, there's going to be trouble. That's what a peacemaker does. And so we live in this world of evil right now. And what we're seeing is when peacemakers come in, they're demonized, because that's what the devil does. He doesn't want any peacemakers. And so they have to be demonized. Now I'm seeing what's happening in Minnesota or other places as well. And the people that are there to make the peace are demonized. Now, we don't know everything that's going on once again, but it sure does seem like that's coming off the page, is that they've stolen billions of dollars. They would love for that little enterprise to keep on going. Yeah. And when you come to make the peace, they're going to demon, oh, you're a bigot. This is about bigotry, and this is about your immigration thing. This isn't about immigration. This is about the fact that there are billions of dollars that are being stolen that were meant for doing good for vulnerable people that evil people have commandeered for themselves. That is evil. There are people that are probably dying or in dire shape because they don't have access to that aid right now that these people use to buy cars or clothes or whatever frivolous thing that they decided to buy. That's not what that money's for. And out of the goodness of our American hearts, we put that money out there, and they stole it. These people deserve severe punishment for that. And as we see it played out on TV, it's hard to watch because we've been programmed to be peacekeepers and not peacemakers.
That's interesting. Let me just capitalize, put a magnifying glass on something important that you said, and that is, all right, so the good people there in Minnesota and beyond, but we're talking about Minnesota at the moment, have been duped under the guise of being so kind and so nice that they want to help out people in need with their tax dollars and everything because they're so kind and they're so socialistic and nice. Why are they not up in arms over their money being stolen from them in the way that you just described?
I love the question, and it's Minnesota, right? Have you heard of Minnesota Nice?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's not very nice.
You know, here's the deal, is that, like I said before, they've been trained to be peacekeepers and not peacemakers. That's what Minnesota Nice has turned into, is that, well, we can't push back because they're underprivileged. And, You know, that worked in their society until we moved a very bad element in the world from Somalia right into the. Why do you think they congregated there? Here's the
That's a
thing:
good one.
it's
Yeah.
that, like, if you're from Somalia, why would look? They're in like the desert, right? Why would you want to move to 40 below zero?
Yeah, right.
It's because of Minnesota Nice. It's because of the principle I'm telling you about. They knew that they could get over on these people because of the culture that they were living in.
And everything, once again, is implemented on the fear of being called a bigot.
Yeah.
It
works.
always is. And that's what they're doing now. As soon as you start to question it, they're calling you a bigot. You can watch the video for yourself. And it's over and over.
Look at, I remember when the Biden administration took over, they met with Chinese diplomats right away, and they were trying to be all nice with the Chinese. And the Chinese were like, you people are disgusting. You had slavery. You mistreat the minorities.
Right.
You do all this stuff. And then Blinken, remember Blinken? He's backpedaling. Oh. And it's like, wait, whoa. Hold on a second. Don't you guys like corner people on the road with ambulances and steal their body parts and put them into rich people's bodies? Isn't that like don't you guys put Uyghurs in concentration camps and keep
This
them
should be
there?
obvious.
And don't you guys like lock up all? Didn't I see you lock up all of Shanghai in the middle of the night? They had video where people were screaming out their windows, and it sounded like actual hell there. And you're gonna come over here and tell us about how bad we are? Get the hell out of here!
And it's not only that. Anytime somebody brings up reparations or slavery of any kind in the U.S., how about remind them that thousands of white people gave their lives to end it?
How about that?
Their brothers, sisters, sons, daughters died in order
More than
to end
all
it.
the wars put together that we fought died in the Civil War over this, right? I mean, it's just so crazy when you think about it.
Isn't it?
San Francisco, they're going to give reparations like over $1 million to each of their black people, citizens over there.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they just passed that law this year. The problem is that the city's bankrupt, so they don't have any money so the checks are in the mail.
But can I not move there for 6 months and identify as black, cash in, and get the hell out of there?
But you'll be waiting
What
a long
could go
time
wrong?
for that check, right? Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Well, they got you, man. It's like, yeah, reparations. As soon as we get the money, we'll pay you.
With
And then
that,
California wasn't even a slave state, so what are you doing?
my God, of course. I mean, of course, nowhere near
ridiculous.
it.
It's
They're as
ridiculous,
far
man.
removed from slavery as you could possibly.
That's right.
Oh my
That's right.
God,
It's the
California,
craziest
man.
thing. Yeah, Californication, man. It's just that's what's gonna happen when you go there. Stay away.
Yeah, well, it's also, hey, it always, how do they say it? They brag about themselves, us in the flyover states. They say whatever starts in California, everything starts in California, something like that. God, I hope they're wrong.
I hope so too. I don't like to put a wall up over there. Get my kids and my brother out.
Yeah.
My gosh, it's like a third world country over there, some kind of other world. It really is.
It's crazy. Okay, with that, we got to wrap up. I sure hope that I got Mark's AI tip of the week for you. And sorry we went a little over, kind of expected. We tried to squeeze it all in. As soon as we hang up here, it's going to be like, oh, we forgot to talk about this,
exactly.
and this.
There's so much. It's impossible to cover everything.
Yeah, happy 2026, everybody.
Well, hello there, over 50 friends. Mark Tennant back with you with your AI tip of the week. This week, level up your AI game with AI models, new AI models from ChatGPT and Gemini. OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, and Google, the makers of Gemini, have just gave you two great reasons to up your AI game right now with their new models. Introducing ChatGPT's 5.2, the numbers don't really matter, and Gemini's 3 Flash. These are the new models on the scene, and they are tremendous. The new models are, especially with data and analysis, these models before couldn't even create or not really good, images or video. Now it's just so much markedly different. And just the functionality in of itself with these models has just changed. And all of that in only 3 years. To me, this is one of the most extraordinary times of my life, and I think for you as well, that you'll ever experience. Because us over 50s, the time is now for us to really take the AI bull by the horns, if you will, and start learning and using these models. We talk about using AI professionally all the time with some personal use, but for many of us, that dream job, that dream business can be yours with just an idea, and AI can help you with that. But you have to start. So let's do this. Pick one AI platform, ChatGPT or Gemini, I don't care which one it is. Get the paid version for just 2 months. It's only $20. If you only can afford a month, then just do a month. I will bet that you will see immediately how much robust these paid models are compared to the free versions maybe that you've been using here in the past. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to compare the old 4.0, this was the model after 3.5, to ChatGPT 5.0, and you're just going to see how far that leap was. And we're going to start it right here. So what I did, I went back to some old conversations. This is probably from about 18 months ago, and I'm using the exact same prompt on these responses for both. So in the new model and the old model, this was the prompt. I'm trying to write a very short, compelling headline for my lead magnet sign-up form. In less than 8 words, what is a compelling business reason owners and professionals should download my lead magnet? Use the problem and solution method and write 10 compelling headlines. And there you go. Not that bad. But if you look closer, you see transform, revolutionize, innovation, transforming, just AI buzzwords that we've all come to know over the last few years. It's just not that great when you look at it compared to now. When I ran this through yesterday, these are the headlines it came up with. Exact same prompt, different model. Stop guessing about AI. Start using it. AI feels complicated. This makes it simple. Still unsure about AI? Let's fix that. So no common buzzwords anymore. So the writing in itself of these models have just gotten so much better. Here's one. I was working with a manufacturing company and I wanted to understand supply chain and visibility, forecasting, and that type of thing. So I gave it this prompt, and this was again about 16 to 18 months ago. How exactly does a manufacturing company enhance supply chain visibility, forecasting, and efficiency? Be as specific and concrete as possible. And there you go. 12 decent examples: predictive analysis, real-time monitoring, inventory optimizations, and so forth. Again, ran that through ChatGPT 5.2 and a very, very different response. It started breaking it out into major points with goals, what the practice looks like. And in this case, the first bullet point is supply chain visibility, what's really happening right now. And it just went on and on and on, forecasting what's likely to happen next and why. So the answer, much more robust, much better. And it even summarized it with a bottom line, connecting data across silos, turning history into profitability, and so forth. Just play with these models. You'll be amazed at how much better these models respond. Try it out yourself with some old prompts that you've done and some old responses. I think you'll find it's pretty amazing, and that these new models are so much more robust. One of the last things I want to show you is image generators. Both Gemini and ChatGPT have upped their image generation, and they are amazing. So let's go back about 18 months ago, and on this prompt, and essentially what this prompt was, I needed a logo for a small business I was starting, AI for small business professionals, kind of turned and morphed into this. But this is what ChatGPT came up with me about, again, 16 to 18 months ago. It's got that computerish look. Okay, they're okay. They were fun to work with, but just not that great. Now, that same prompt I ran through yesterday, look at that. You still got those little computer chip looking things in that logo, but it's much better, a much better design, all within 16 to 18 months. Finally, we're going to have a little fun here. So you know these guys, Barry and Merle, and this is their logo for Over 50 Starting Over. So I took this prompt, make these men look like Santa and his elf, and I ran the first one through ChatGPT, and look, I was amazed. I was blown away. I actually laughed a little bit. And I'm not even going to tell Barry or Merle about this till they actually watch this. And it did a great job. And Nano Banana, which is Gemini's version and image creator. Not bad. Barry's still in black and white, but Merle is in a little bit more colorful there in this one. So there you are, Santa Barry and Merle the Elf, all courtesy of ChatGPT and Gemini. So to wrap up, now is the time to get AI skin in the game. Get that skin, put it in, start using these models. And AI is not just faster now, it's a real work assistant. You just don't talk to it. It can do so much more now than it could when we started the AI Tips of the Week some 14 months ago. You don't need to be tech savvy at all, and your edge is your experience, and AI is that tool for you. So now it's your turn. I want you to find a report, a policy, or a long email that you've been meaning to read, upload that, and have AI summarize it for you. Take a screenshot of a dashboard, a chart, or a spreadsheet, upload that, and ask it to explain what you're looking at in plain English and flag anything that doesn't look right. And finally, bring messy notes from a meeting or a project and ask AI to turn these into a professional email update and for the team with clear action items. I want to know what you come up with. Let me know. Mark at marktenet.net. I read all my emails. I would love to hear from you. And let's connect on the socials on LinkedIn. I'm at Mark E. Tenet. So until then, experiment with those models. Get that paid version for at least a month. You'll love it. And I will talk to you next time. Take care.